This story is for every guy who poured years of trust, money, and loyalty into two people he loved most, his wife and his lifelong best friend, only to get stabbed behind closed doors. I'm Jude. I run a custom solid wood furniture workshop in a quiet Midwestern town. For 10 years, I covered my wife Lila's daily expenses, helped my college roommate Ethan launch his interior design company, handed him huge commercial furniture contracts, lent cash whenever he claimed cash flow gaps, never demanded fast repayment, and kept quiet about all our informal loans. I endured constant double standards and soft moral pressure from both of them for years, just hoping for equal respect and honest communication. Then one night, I got a private photo from Ethan, him locked in a tight embrace with Lila at a lakeside boardwalk, grinning like a newlywed couple that I didn't blow up, yell, or threaten anyone. I just saved the picture, posted a single short caption on my public social feed, powered off my phone, and vanished for 3 full days. When I turned my device back on, their world had already started collapsing all on its own. Every loss, broken relationship, and professional failure they faced afterward came purely from their own lies, greed, and secret arrangements. I only pulled back my money and shared verified proof when forced. No pre-planned revenge schemes of any kind. Hashtag chapter won the provocative photo and my calm public post. I was sanding down a walnut cabinet panel when my work phone buzzed on the bench beside me. I wiped with dust off my palms and unlocked the screen, fully expecting a client message adjusting cabinet dimensions. The top unread message was from Ethan. No text attached, just a single high-resolution photograph. The lake water stretched smooth in the background, wooden walkway running along the shore. Ethan's arms wrapped tight around Lila's shoulders, her cheek pressed flat against his chest, both of them wearing relaxed vacation clothing, matching wide, unguarded grins that looked staged for a wedding engagement shoot. I stared at the image for nearly 2 full minutes as the screen dimmed automatically, no surge of screaming rage or hot panic flooding my chest. Years of small, unspoken one-sided sacrifices hit me all at once, quiet and heavy rather than explosive anger. We'd been married 3 years. Lila worked part-time teaching watercolor painting for local kids, low steady monthly income, and I'd covered rent, groceries, all her art supplies, and every weekend trip we took without ever asking her to split bills. Ethan had been my college roommate a full decade prior. I'd backed his startup with startup capital, awarded my biggest hotel furniture project his firm, lent him repeated emergency cash when his business struggled, even let him crash at our house for months during his early career slumps. I treated him like family, trusted him with my marriage's trivial private details, always gave him priority access to my client list out of loyalty. I saved the photo to my cloud storage, opened my social media profile without typing any angry paragraphs, selected the lake picture as my new post image, and typed only 2 short lines as the caption. Congratulations on finally making it official together. I hit publish, powered the phone all the way down and set it face down on the workbench. The old wall clock ticked slow in the empty workshop, pine sawdust sitting thick across every flat surface. I didn't touch my vehicle or reach out to anyone for 72 straight hours, just camped out in the back storage room of my shop, barely eating prepackaged takeout and staring at half-finished cabinet frames lined against the walls. No texts, no calls, no attempts to reach out crossed my mind. Every tiny loan receipt, signed project contract, saved chat log of Ethan begging for cash advances, every screenshot of Lila hiding secret outings with him was already filed neatly on my desktop hard drive. I'd never wanted to drag private personal matters into public view, but their intentional provocation crossed every line I'd silently tolerated for a decade combined. 3 days later, I plugged the charger back in and pressed the power button. Notification alerts exploded nonstop across the screen, 41 missed calls stacked at the top, hundreds of unread messages flooding every chat window. The social media post had 76 separate comments underneath, dozens of mutual friends tagging each other in shock. The latest comment, posted only minutes before I turned the phone on, was Ethan's panicked reply. "This isn't what it looks like. Pick up your phone right now, we need to talk this out." A text popped up immediately after the notifications finished loading, sent from Lila's personal number. "I'm staying at my parents' house right now. Turn your phone on so we can sit down and talk properly." I typed one plain word back. "All right." I twisted a loose cigarette between my fingers without lighting it, running back through the memory of our engagement 3 years prior. I'd stayed up 3 straight nights in this very workshop carving a custom walnut jewelry box, her name etched into the lid, a simple silver wedding band tucked inside when I handed it to her. She'd shaken so hard, she could barely speak through happy tears, saying yes over and over. Ethan had stood in the doorway of my shop filming the whole moment on his phone, laughing louder than either of us the entire time. Back then, I thought his joy for me was genuine, never imagining he'd spend years plotting to take both my wife and my steady stream of business funding away from me. Rain started tapping against the workshop's front windows as I pulled my office laptop open and pulled up the dedicated folder labeled Lakeside Hotel Furnishings Project. Ethan's largest commercial contract, $75,000 USD total balance, still unpaid after full furniture delivery 1 month prior. Inside were every signed bid document, shipping delivery slips, email threads confirming payment timeline extensions he'd begged me to agree to, plus a 7-second voice memo he'd sent last month saying don't worry about the balance. Once this project wraps, my workshop's whole year revenue will be locked in solid. The rain's steady drumming filled the quiet space as I scrolled through every digitized record one by one, filing them into a printable folder ready to bring forward if negotiations went nowhere. Hashtag Chapter 2 Long History of One-Sided Sacrifice and Hidden Secret Outings. Ethan and I first bonded back in sophomore year college outdoor training courses. I slipped off a 2-foot practice wall and twisted my ankle badly during an obstacle drill. Without a second pause, he hoisted my weight onto his back and carried me 400 yards all the way to campus medical care, rambling terrible silly jokes the whole walk to distract me from the swelling pain. After graduation, we both settled in this small town. I opened my woodworking shop while he founded his interior design agency. We traded referrals constantly. He'd bring residential clients to me for custom cabinetry. I'd push every commercial remodel lead straight his way. Every time we grabbed dinner, he'd grab the check before I could reach my wallet. Small kind gestures that made me overlook all the bigger one-sided financial favors I'd extended him later on. At our wedding, he'd handed over a $12,000 cash wedding gift, the largest envelope out of every guest in attendance, and hugged my shoulder telling me I'd hit the jackpot with Lila. Back then, I'd fully believed it. Last September, Ethan secured the Lakeside Boutique Hotel full interior renovation contract and came straight to me for all custom built-in wardrobes, dining sets, and lobby display cabinets. We signed a formal written agreement for $75,000 total compensation. Verbal addendum, he'd settle the full lump sum within 30 days once installation finished. A month after I delivered every finished furniture piece, he messaged me saying his agency's cash flow was temporarily tied up. Could I push the payment deadline back another 2 weeks without penalty? Lila had even chimed in on the group chat telling me not to pressure him too harshly. He had a lot of stress running a business. Back then, I'd let the deadline slide without pushing for partial installments, willing to cut my closest friend slack out of old college loyalty. Now, scrolling through saved text logs, I saw a clear pattern stretched back years. Repeated emergency cash requests from Ethan, Lila constantly covering for his excuses, both of them quietly draining my workshop's profit stream while hiding their regular lakeside meetups from me. I scrolled through the stack of 41 missed calls first, 14 from Ethan, 9 from Lila, 3 from her mother, 7 unknown numbers belonging to mutual business contacts, the rest old college classmates blowing up my line to ask what the social media post meant. Ethan's message timeline showed his panic escalating fast after my 3-day radio silence. First a rushed claim the photo sent by accident, then begging me to answer calls, then frustrated accusations that I was overreacting, and finally a desperate note sent for A. The morning I turned my phone on saying he'd waited 2 hours outside my locked workshop doors overnight hoping to catch me leaving. Lila's messages were far shorter, only repeating 2 identical lines over and over. Where are you? Can you please pick up the phone? I exited their chat windows and pulled up Ethan's social media page to check his most recent update, posted the afternoon before I powered my phone off entirely, a plain landscape shot of the same lake, generic caption about nice scenery during business travel. Lila had left a public like underneath the image, visible for every mutual follower to see. I minimized the app and opened my online banking dashboard, scrolling through 12 months of outgoing transfers labeled informal personal loans to Ethan's business account, every single one voluntarily sent on his request. I'd never once demanded written repayment contracts for those smaller amounts, blinded by years of shared friendship history, and now every unclaimed balance sat stacked on top of the $75,000 commercial furniture invoice he still owed my workshop. While I sorted digital records, a soft knock hit the shop's front door. It was Frank, the 60-year-old owner of the noodle diner right next to my workshop, holding a steaming paper bowl of plain egg noodles in his hand. He pushed the door open a crack and stepped inside, wiping his bald forehead with a stained apron. Haven't seen you step outside in 3 full days. Got worried something bad happened to you locked up back here. He set the noodle bowl down on my workbench beside the laptop. Thanks, Frank. I appreciate it. Guy driving that black sedan showed up yesterday, hung around your front door pacing for ages. Frank scratched the top of his head. Ethan, right? Normally, he pops in casual like to chat, but yesterday his face was tight as a clamped board the whole time he loitered. He hesitated a second before speaking quieter, not wanting to overstep into my private life. I also ran a food delivery route out west last month, past that lakeside steak restaurant. Saw your wife sitting across the table from him. Looked like they'd been there a long time. Didn't think much of it then. Figured just friends grabbing dinner, but after seeing that post you put up online, figured I ought to mention it to you. I nodded slowly while stirring the noodles with a disposable fork, no dramatic reaction spilling out of me. Frank didn't push further, telling me to call if I needed anything before heading back to his diner next door. Halfway through eating the bowl, my phone buzzed with an incoming client call, a woman named Sarah who'd been negotiating custom dessert shop display shelves with me the week prior. I answered the line politely. Hi, Jude. I've been talking over our cabinet design plans, but I actually ended up going with another woodworking shop instead. Her speech rushed a little. A friend referred them. Their pricing came out lower overall. No problem at all. Best of luck with your shop opening. I ended the call calmly without pressing for details, but made a mental note of the connection. Sarah was a new acquaintance Ethan had introduced at an industry dinner 6 months earlier. The prior client who'd pulled out last week ran a vacation rental cottage complex, his interior design work fully handled by Ethan's agency. Both potential customers had backed out right after my social media post went viral. Clear, quiet, professional retaliation Ethan had set in motion to hurt my workshop's revenue stream as petty payback for exposing their secret relationship online. I saved both client names to a separate Node document, adding it to my growing folder of proof against his underhanded business tactics, then returned sorting printed copies of all loan slips and commercial contracts to bring to my attorney first thing the next morning. Hashtag chapter 3 Ethan confronts me at the workshop and full financial evidence laid out. The next sunrise, I unlocked the metal rolling shop shutter to find Ethan's black sedan already parked dead center of my front parking spot. He'd swapped out his casual lakeside vacation clothes for crisp light gray office slacks and a pressed button-down shirt, carrying a paper breakfast bag full of pastries and hot coffee in one hand. He pushed open the workshop door the second he spotted me flipping a lock. We need to talk this through properly, no more avoiding each other. He set the food bag down heavy on my wooden workbench. I didn't glance at the breakfast container, wiping dust off a metal sanding rag first before speaking flatly. $75,000 balance for the hotel furniture contract. Can you settle the full amount today? Ethan's shoulders sagged instantly, tone shifting into soft pleading frustration. Don't jump straight to money right away. Lila's been crying nonstop worrying about you for 3 days straight. I folded the rag neatly and set it aside, turning to face him fully. Who took that lakeside photo you sent me privately? He paused for half a beat, stalling to cobble together a vague excuse. Just random tourists walking by the boardwalk. They offered to snap a quick landscape shot for us. Tourists took a photo on your personal cell phone. Then you sent that private picture straight to my inbox without cropping or hiding a file. I tilted my head slightly, no raised volume or hostile edge at my voice. Ethan, your half-baked cover story doesn't even hold basic logic. Silence fell over the whole workshop space, fine with dust floating through thin streams of morning sunlight slanting through the front windows. He stared at me without a single ready counterargument to spin. You posted that lake landscape shot to your social feed the same day you sent me the hug photo. Lila left a public like underneath every post you put up that weekend. I pulled my laptop screen around so he could see the saved screenshots laid out side by side. You two coordinated every step of that little stunt before sending the image to Tommy. His jaw tightened hard, voice dropping to a bitter mutter. Did you really have to broadcast this drama to every single mutual friend and business contact online for the whole town to gossip about? Lila's parents were so upset they ended up sick from stress over the embarrassment. I gestured toward the stack of printed loan receipts and commercial contracts stacked thick beside the laptop. All those years, I voluntarily covered your cash flow gaps, funded your startup launch, handed you my highest value commercial leads, never once demanded immediate repayment or public recognition for the money I'd lent you. Did either of you pause to consider the stress and unfair weight you were piling on me when you hid those secret lakeside trips and sent that provocative photo to my private messages? He shifted his weight from foot to foot, trying to pivot the conversation to a sympathetic angle. It was just a quick goodbye hug. She's leaving for a 3-month painting study program upstate. I happened to be traveling nearby for a design job and walked along the lake boardwalk with her to cheer her up since she was homesick. Just a goodbye hug that involved you wrapping both arms fully around her waist, her face pressed into your chest, both of you grinning like newly engaged people posing for official wedding portraits. I repeated the exact visual details from the photograph back to him, letting the hollow excuse fall apart on its own without extra yelling. Ethan's face flushed hot with embarrassment and quiet anger, changing the subject fast to business repayment to avoid addressing the relationship lies. I'll get the full furniture design payment transferred to you by next Wednesday. The agency's corporate approval process just wrapped up for the project budget. I tapped the printed contract sitting on top of the stack, pointing directly at the written 30-day repayment clause we'd both signed. Today is Friday. I need the complete lump sum deposited before 5 p.m. Wednesday, without partial split payments. If the funds haven't cleared my business account by the deadline, I'll bring all signed delivery slips, 12 months of personal loan bank records, and every digital screenshot of our conversations straight to the local small business attorney's office to file formal civil recovery paperwork. He stared at the thick stack of printed evidence spread across my workbench for a long moment, the weight of every unpaid debt hitting him all at once. He reached for the breakfast bag he brought, pushing it toward my side of the table. Fresh pork buns and hot oat coffee, my favorite breakfast combination he'd remembered from years of grabbing meals together in college. I'll cover the full total balance on time. Just give us a chance to fix everything with Lila and smooth this over. I pushed the breakfast bag back toward his side of the bench without touching the food inside. I'll accept the full wire transfer by Wednesday evening as agreed, but there's nothing left between the three of us to smooth over after the intentional public provocation and years of hidden secret outings together. You can head out now. I've got custom cabinet orders to finish for today's client pickup window. He lingered in the shop doorway for nearly a full minute, staring at the wall lined with hand-carved furniture samples I'd spent 3 years building up into a steady local brand. When he finally turned to leave, his shoulder knocked a small walnut storage box I'd finished the day before off the display shelf. It wobbled on the edge, but didn't crash to the floor. He glanced back at me one last time, a messy, tangled mix of guilt, frustration, and panic written all over his facial features before stepping out into the parking lot and slamming his car door shut hard enough to echo down the quiet residential street. Once his vehicle pulled out of sight, I pulled a blank piece of paper out of my printer, typing up a formal consolidated repayment note combining the $75,000 commercial invoice plus $26,000 in informal personal cash loans I'd sent Ethan to cover Lila's art school tuition fees over the prior year. I printed 2 identical copies, pulled a small ink stamp pad from my supply cabinet, and pressed my thumb signature onto every page. Recalling the day we filed our marriage license paperwork 3 years prior, Lila's hands had shaken so bad her thumbprint smudged across the line, and I'd covered her hand with mine to steady it and redo the signature neatly. Back then I'd thought that quiet small gesture was a symbol of lifelong partnership. Now it only stood as proof of all the one-sided support I'd handed out without ever receiving equal loyalty in return. My phone vibrated again with a text from Lila, saying she'd arrive at my workshop at 6:30 p.m. that evening to sit down and talk everything through face-to-face. I typed a single short confirmation reply back to her, then opened a web browser to pull up the official website for the upstate art school she claimed she was attending for a 3-month painting course, saving every tuition page screenshot as additional supporting evidence for my attorney's file folder. Hashtag Chapter 4 all hidden lies verified and their preemptive professional sabotage uncovered. The art school official webpage pulled up clear tuition pricing information. $26,000 USD total for a full 3-month advanced oil painting workshop. Payments only accepted via personal bank transfer or direct individual credit card deposits. There was zero mention of corporate agency education grants, no employee development benefit programs listed anywhere on the school's benefits page, fully debunking Ethan's claim that he'd cover her tuition via his interior design firm's internal funding pool. I pulled up Ethan's company official website next, scrolling through the full employee welfare section, health insurance, annual paid leave, and standard industry training listed, not a single line referencing external partner study subsidies or informal education loans for associates' family members. Every piece of his cover story crumbled line by line with publicly accessible online evidence I could print and attach to my legal documents later. I flipped back to Lila's social media timeline, scrolling backward 3 months, saving every relevant post as screenshot proof. One September photo of a half-finished oil painting with Ethan's comment praising her work. A June gallery visit post where the blurred glass window reflection in the background showed a tall man matching Ethan's build standing behind the camera, taking her picture. Multiple weekend activity posts that lined up perfectly with the dates Ethan claimed he was traveling. A loan for out-of-town design projects. None of these standalone screenshots qualified as ironclad proof on their own, but stacked alongside the lakeside photo, loan records, and hotel furniture contract, they formed an unbroken timeline of coordinated deception spanning more than a full year. Mid-afternoon, I received a new inquiry message through my workshop's business website from a couple looking for custom built-in library shelves, replied with my standard pricing breakdown, and waited for their response, only to never hear back again. Another potential lead Ethan had quietly poisoned against me to punish my public social media post. By 3 p.m., I locked up the shop early, driving downtown to the local bank branch to print 3 full months of official bank transaction statements listing every outgoing wire transfer I'd sent to Ethan's business and personal accounts. After collecting the physical printouts, I visited my retained small business attorney's office to walk through the full debt recovery process with his paralegal, laying out every stack of digital and physical evidence I compiled over months of unspoken one-sided financial support and their coordinated deception. The legal team confirmed all contracts and informal loan records held fully valid weight in local civil court, giving me clear ground to file a formal repayment lawsuit if Ethan missed the Wednesday payment deadline. On my drive back to the workshop, I stopped at a local supermarket to pick up simple grocery supplies, processing all the long-term emotional weight of years of constant moral pressure from Lila and Ethan's household. They'd repeatedly frame my steady workshop income as an infinite disposable cash pool, use emotional manipulation to push me into extending more loans and flexible payment deadlines, and hide their secret romantic connection behind a thin, just close friends facade the entire time. They drained my business profits without a single thought for my livelihood or peace of mind. Every small unfair slight stacked up slow over years. Never a single explosive fight, but endless quiet exploitation that only fully hit home once their intentional lakeside photo provocation broke my final line of tolerance. Hashtag Chapter 5 face-to-face conversation with Lila and full irrefutable evidence presented. Lila showed up at my workshop at exactly 6:30 p.m. Wearing a soft neutral knit sweater she bought with cash I'd lent her months prior, her eyes red-rimmed like she'd spent hours crying before driving over. She pulled out a wooden chair beside my workbench and sat down, hands twisted tight together in her lap before she even started speaking. I know everything looks terrible from that photo you posted online, but it wasn't what you're assuming between Ethan and me. She rushed to recite the same rehearsed goodbye hug cover story Ethan had given me earlier that day, repeating the identical line about traveling for work and her homesickness for our town. I didn't cut her off mid-sentence, waiting for her to finish the full script before sliding every printed bank statement, tuition webpage screenshot, and signed commercial contract across the wooden bench surface between us. I laid out the complete timeline slowly in a steady, unraised tone without any yelling or bitter insults. Over the past 12 months, I transferred $26,000 in personal loans to Ethan's accounts to cover your art school tuition fees. His agency's official website and the Art Institute's payment portal both prove there is no corporate grant program for outside associates. Every cent came directly out of my workshop's operating revenue. For the Lakeside Hotel furniture job, we signed a $75,000 contract with a 30-day repayment clause that expired a full month ago. He's repeatedly begged me to push back deadlines while hiding weekly Lakeside outings with you behind my back, sending that private hug photo to my inbox as an intentional provocation to test how far I tolerate your coordinated deception. I tapped the printed Lakeside photo screenshot on top of the evidence stack. That tourist cover story doesn't hold up. Your social media posts from that weekend prove you two planned the entire trip together before sending that picture to taunt me, fully aware I'd see every detail once I opened my messages. Lila's rehearsed calm facade shattered instantly, her manufactured, tearful expression melting away into genuine panic as she scanned the stack of irrefutable printed proof spread out in front of her. She tried to argue that all the cash transfers were voluntary gifts. I'd chosen to give freely, not formal loans requiring repayment. Yet I pointed to every saved chat log where Ethan explicitly labeled each wire transfer a temporary advance he'd pay back once project revenue cleared his agency's accounts. Every text message contradicted her sudden claim that the money had been freely gifted without expectation of reimbursement. She switched tactics fast, shifting into soft emotional pleading about our 3 years of marriage together, saying we could fix everything if I simply deleted the viral social media post and dropped all demands for full repayment of every outstanding balance owed to my business and personal accounts. I shook my head slowly, explaining I had zero intention of deleting the post. They'd chosen to send me that provocative private photo fully knowing it would push me to share the truth publicly, and every mutual friend, business associate, and local client now deserved full context behind the sudden breakdown of our marriage and decade-long friendship with Ethan. I clarified I had no plans to initiate personal retaliation against either of them, but I would fully enforce every legal financial claim I held to recover every dollar they borrowed from me over the years, permanently cutting off all future financial support of any kind moving forward. Lila's voice cracked as she begged for a partial reduced settlement amount, offering to sell her art supplies and an used wardrobe to scrape together small partial payments toward the total $91,000 combined debt balance. I told her all repayment terms were non-negotiable for the signed written contracts and documented loan histories, the full lump sum required by Wednesday evening with no split installment plans accepted. After our conversation wrapped, I walked her out to her car, watching her drive away with slumped shoulders, fully aware the professional and personal fallout from their own choices was only just beginning to unfold for both her and Ethan over the coming days. Hashtag Chapter 6 self-inflicted collapse of their careers and social standing. By Wednesday morning, the deadline for Ethan's full $91,000 repayment arrived, and no wire transfer appeared in my business bank account by the 5 p.m. cutoff time I'd laid out earlier that week. I immediately forwarded the full packet of signed contracts, bank records, and digital screenshot evidence to my attorney, who filed formal civil debt recovery paperwork with the local county court by close of business that same day. Simultaneously, I shared unedited screen recordings of Ethan's coordinated client poaching and behind-the-scenes sabotage attempts with multiple local industry trade groups, sending copies to every commercial contractor and furniture vendor we shared mutual connections with. Within 48 hours, the domino effect of their own greedy, deceptive choices collapsed their entire social and professional lives entirely without me launching any targeted smear campaigns or hidden sabotage tactics. Ethan's interior design agency lost every ongoing commercial renovation project contract as hotel and retail clients pulled out one after another upon seeing the verified evidence of his unethical business conduct. His social media follower count dropped by thousands overnight. Local industry partners severing all collaborative ties and refusing to refer new leads his way. Lila's watercolor teaching studio received dozens of parent cancellation requests as the viral social media posts spread through small-town parent groups, every family pulling their kids out of her painting classes to avoid associating with the public scandal. Her parents cut off all regular contact with her, furious over the shame she'd brought onto their household after years of me covering their daughter's daily expenses and art education costs. Ethan's landlord served him a formal early lease termination notice after multiple missed rent payments. His business revenue had dried up completely once all commercial clients abandoned his firm, leaving him unable to cover monthly office overhead. He repeatedly left desperate voicemails and flooded my text inbox begging me to withdraw the civil lawsuit and pause the industry evidence distribution, promising to sell his personal vehicle and design equipment to scrape together partial settlement funds if I'd show leniency. I never responded to a single one of his outreach attempts, following my attorney's guidance to only communicate via official legal written correspondence moving forward. Lila also sent dozens of apologetic messages every single day, offering to move back into our workshop apartment and attempt to repair our marriage if I drop all financial repayment demands. I held firm to my original boundary. Every outstanding balance required full legal repayment, and permanent separation was unavoidable after years of hidden deception and intentional public provocation on their part. All negative consequences they endured stemmed solely from their own long-running pattern of greed, secret romantic collusion, and unethical business sabotage. I'd only exercised my full legal right to recover assets I'd rightfully lent them and share verified proof when they chose to taunt me publicly first. I never orchestrated any harm toward either of them. Every loss and social ostracism was a natural self-inflicted result of their own repeated dishonest choices over multiple years. Hashtag Chapter 7 Healing Narrative and my stable positive support system. Months after the court issued a binding judgment ordering Ethan and Lila to repay the full $91,000 combined debt balance plus all legal administrative fees, I'd fully processed all the suppressed frustration and hurt from years of one-sided sacrifice and quiet exploitation. My workshop's business bounced back stronger than ever after the temporary client sabotage faded. Local small business owners who'd seen the full verified evidence reached out to prioritize custom furniture orders with my shop, disgusted by Ethan's unethical industry tactics and eager to support a fair, transparent local craftsman with no hidden manipulative agenda. I built a steady, peaceful support circle completely free of people who viewed me as an infinite source of disposable cash, a stark, warm contrast against Lila and Ethan's years of endless financial demands. Frank the Noodle Shop owner stops by my workshop every afternoon to bring free warm meals whenever I'm swamped with cabinet orders, always willing to sit and chat without ever asking for discounts or personal loans. A retired master woodworker who mentored me as a team visits every other weekend to build hand-carved decorative pieces in my back storage room, sharing decades of craft wisdom with zero hidden motives. My attorney handles all legal follow-up with patience and consistent emotional support through the long civil case process, prioritizing my mental well-being over fast-rush settlements. New long-term residential clients who found my workshop through positive local word-of-mouth split all design deposits and material costs evenly up front, never expecting me to float unpaid supplies or extend indefinite credit the way Lila and Ethan had taken for granted for years. I attend monthly counseling sessions to unpack the emotional weight of 10 years of constant moral manipulation and one-sided loyalty to two people who'd secretly exploited my resources behind my back, steadily rebuilding my sense of self-worth separate from the role of permanent financial provider for ungrateful parties. I've stopped carrying lingering resentment toward Ethan and Lila entirely. Their own greed and coordinated deception destroyed every comfortable lifestyle they'd built off my income, and I never needed to retaliate to see them held accountable for their choices. This whole experience taught me an unshakable lifelong lesson. Unlimited generosity, without clear financial and emotional boundaries, will always be taken advantage of by people who see your kindness as a weakness to exploit endlessly. You do not need to plot revenge against manipulative, greedy people. Their own short-sighted, dishonest decisions will inevitably collapse their entire world without any intervention from your side. I now run my workshop with strict upfront payment terms for all clients, only offer financial support to people who reciprocate equal respect and transparency, and surround myself with genuine friends and business partners who value me for my craft and character rather than the money I'm capable of lending out to cover their reckless spending. Every evening after closing up the shop, I work on small hand-carved decorative pieces in the back storage room. No deadlines or unpaid loans weighing on my mind anymore. Finally able to create woodwork purely for my own quiet joy without sacrificing my livelihood to prop up people who never appreciated all I'd given them over the years.